On the last episode of the Praying and Slaying podcast,
I wanted to get my brother into a situation where him and I can basically go up, post up, find an antelope a ways off, sneak in on it. It's just him and me out there, calculate the shot, take a shot. And now I'm like starting to see all these trucks. And so my head's spinning the other direction of like, gosh damn it, we're going to have to like, hopefully not get ourselves in a situation like what I assumed. Like, I just thought it was like about the Iowa thing. I didn't know if it was like a high pressure deal or what. You have a lot more open space out here. It's not like you're pushing a tight drive with 15 people shooting down into the same river bottom you're pushing. But either way, I was trying to avoid that altogether, like completely. So in my head, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a little bit different than what I was hoping for. But either way, we went back to the cabin, got a good night's sleep, and got up pretty early the next morning. And I was like, well, our best bet is that BLM.
welcome back to the Praying and Slaying podcast, a Light the Fire Outdoors production. On this episode, we pick up where the brothers left off on Chris's first ever antelope hunt. We talk about how Chris smacks his first antelope. We also plan StonehockerFest 2022 and why shooting in front of an audience makes a long story longer. With that, let's hear the final episode on Chris's first ever big game hunt.
First things first, he's taking vacation time. We get out there and we see there's basically every place you could park on that road, on that BLM, there was a truck, wasn't there? Except for the one spot that we had kind of decided we might park at first.
Yeah, the earlier spots, the spots we liked better, there was. And then, I remember there was a crest of a ridge we went over, and there was more places down there, but we hadn't really seen anything the day prior unless we followed that road for quite a bit longer. And then we saw the hole, which looked like it was, I can't remember I had a reference, but it's escaping me now, the actual term. But anyways, it looked like
went through it.
Yeah, it looked like you had just marched 10 wide and 100 deep, antelope through. But we never saw antelope from it. We just saw that the abundance of tracks.
Yeah.
And so I can't remember why we didn't just keep going. I mean, it worked out, so kudos. But we didn't just keep driving. We circled back and found a place, a field entrance or whatever that we could pull into, a small field entrance or whatever that didn't already have a truck there, and marched up to the ridge. But yeah, I can't remember what reasoning we had for that.
Well, I think we wanted to start in that spot, but so there was the tent, which was centrally. So if you're imagining a north to south road, and let's say I can't remember the exact number, but there's basically 4 pull-ins along this road that border this BLM piece, or 5 pull-ins, I guess. So there's two to the south, 2 to the north, and there's 1 centrally located. The tent was located in the center one. And then we didn't see anybody at the first pull-in, but that was also the furthest to the north. So technically we had the least amount of ground to hunt if we parked there and walked in, because to the north of us was private, to the south of us was all public, but then there's also people hunting down there. So the second pull-in had a truck. The tent was on the third pull-in, the fourth and fifth. I think we drove down to the fourth and fifth, but there was people there because we had seen antelope down there the day before, or one of the pull-ins had somebody in it. So then we circled back up and said, well, screw it. Let's stick to our plan, stick to this piece of BLM, and let's get on the north end of it, which for all intents and purposes actually worked out okay. It was a good spot to go, big chunk of land, antelope were there. But I guess in my mind, I don't know what you thought. So Chris, first of all, you had a business meeting you had to do right away, which didn't affect the hunt at all. It was just ironic. So he's in the truck getting a business meeting ready. When I finally get a chance to put the video together, you'll hear me take a few cracks at him outside the truck. But so I'm kind of getting the guns ready and everything else. He's handling his business deal. And then he finally gets out, and you actually looked pretty cozy. I was kind of surprised. You had all your gear on or whatever. I lent him one of my hoodies that has a face mask on it. So he had the face mask pulled up, but I was cold when I got out, and I'm like, Chris is going to hate this. This is not going to be good. Hopefully we don't have to spend too much time out here. We can just get it done quick. I think I made a comment about that in the video too, but actually you did pretty good. But I think you probably found out when you start hiking, your body heat basically keeps you warm, and you don't have to wear a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of clothes to keep you warm. Like layering comes on like when you stop moving, then you layer up. But if you're moving, like, I don't know. So for me, I've got a basic setup. I've got a pair of pants I wear all the time. I got two sets now because I tried a new pair of pants this year. But I basically have two pairs of hunting pants. I don't wear anything underneath them because my legs are always moving. I've got a wool liner, basically like an Under Armour shirt, kind of from First Light, and then I've got an Air Force issued wool shirt I wear over that. It's a little bit thicker, and that does me from. I mean, literally, it could be 90 degrees outside. I just don't wear the Air Force overshirt. If it's 10 degrees outside, I wear the Air Force overshirt. And if I'm hiking and moving, I'm like, fine. It like traps enough body heat in there that I can stay comfortable. And then about the only time I throw anything on over, it's when I stop moving. So but you had do you have a Gore-Tex on?
No, I actually never broke that out of the bag. That stayed in the suitcase. But I had the other version of this on. I had the hoodie you gave me on. I had one of my like compression things on underneath. And then I think I had the fleece Air Force thing on underneath this little jacket. Because I remember when we got to the like thing where we hiked clear up the ridge and like looked around, that was when we got back to the truck. I was like, all right, I gotta take the Air Force fleece off. It was like I'm sweating
You
too
build
much
up
in
heat
this.
quick, man.
But
When you're moving,
which
you build up.
which I expected, which is why I packed like layers. I didn't want just like a bulk thing. Like it's got like you said, like I mean, this is a different equation. I mean, and I get that, but like for volleyball with me is like when it used to get to this time of the year where it's cold once it gets dark, you know, and it gets dark stupidly early. Like the sand just it holds heat when it's hot and it dissipates heat when it's cold.
Yeah.
So it'll suck heat out of you through your feet on a good day, and then if you're flopping all the time, it sucks it out of your whole body. But I learned that early on, where like now when I play in the cold, is like I might wear sand socks just to keep the like contact off my feet and like maybe compression stuff in my legs. But like a lot of times I'll just wear a t-shirt hoodie over. So it's like I'll be sitting there before like waiting to play, just like, oh yeah, it's you know, I'm dying over here, like when we go up. But after like the third point, like you said, like you get moving around, you have your own body heat generated. It's like you still start sweating down, like, you know, like between your shoulder blades, like you don't sweat nearly as much as you normally would, but it's like you build that heat up pretty early on as long as you're doing anything physical for the most part. And whatnot. And I had to learn that the hard way of many days coming home just smelling like a middle school locker room and stuff before I realized like, oh yeah, I think I'm overdoing it, you know? And I remember mentioning that to Des multiple times when I was packing too. I was doing my normal packing strategy of like, oh yeah, I haven't done laundry in a couple of weeks. Let me do 4 loads and I'll dump 2.5 of them into the suitcase. But I even mentioned to her, I was like, I feel like I'm overpacking. And she's like, yeah, but it's probably better to overpack than underpack. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Let me see your suitcase too. I'm a Southwest living fly out too.
Not knocking her, but that's a classic woman's like,
yeah.
I feel like that's more of a woman's thing. Oh, I better overpack because I might need these 17 shirts for my 2-day trip.
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, that's how I felt like by the end of it. I was like, I had like all my Air Force, like cold weather gear. I had probably 3 or 4 days worth straight of like compression wear stuff, like legging type stuff and upper body. I had any like thermal long sleeve thing I could find. And then I packed t-shirts and like underwear and socks and stuff. But it was just like, I remember just packing everything I could think of. And then once I remember like, oh yeah, like Southwest, you can fly with 2 free check bags, whatever. And I'm flying Southwest both ways, you know, screw it. I was like, I might as well get a second suitcase then. And because if I want to bring stuff back, then I can spread the weight out and do whatever. But yeah, I still got to the point of where I think I had more weight to play with than I realized, but like I still overpacked by far for what I mean. I still haven't unpacked the suitcases, to be fair. Like I get ready for work or volleyball sometimes, like where the hell is like I know I have more of this. Yeah, and then I zip open the suitcase, take the stuff out of them, and leave the suitcase in the bed, and like Des will push over to my side of the bed, hoping I'll unpack it, but it's like 10:30 by the time I get home, so I just zip it back up and put it in the corner. So honestly, they'll probably get unpacked, and unpacking for Wyoming, or not Wyoming, but for Montana for Christmas. I need suitcases again.
Probably.
But
well, I forgot too. We had the because that was one good thing to mention. So you flew in, which we've already established. You flew into Montana, so you were flying home, and that's all. I've personally never done that, but I guess seen enough TV shows and stuff where they mention it and kind of talk about what they do or listen to podcasts about it. To have a general,
you made it sound like you'd done it before and you knew it worked.
Well, I kind of knew the general
cool
process, but I personally I think for all intents and purposes, I would absolutely avoid it if I ever had to.
That's good.
Yeah, I would gladly walk you through it. I mean, as a personal advice consultant. Yeah. But if I had to do it though, 100%, it would either be for a fishing trip where I caught a bunch of fish, or it'd be like something like the size of an antelope, because an antelope's not a big animal. What you got? What? From the meet, because I sent you home with some of mine too, because I had 3 tags on one. Well, I mean, what, maybe 20? We've sent you home with close to 50, I guess, didn't we?
No, God, no.
Not it wasn't a full suitcase, because we wanted you to have like an extra.
No, it wasn't a full suitcase. It was like I think how it split up is I had all of my like random crap, like my toiletries, my like clothes I was wearing around the cabin and stuff, like and like the little ferry gun thing and all that type of stuff in one suitcase, which was like 30 some pounds. And then I had all of my like Air Force stuff and cold weather stuff, whatever, in the other suitcase, which is where I put the meat. I got my own suitcase, and that one I think totaled up with like between the clothes and the meat was like low 40s. Something total.
Well, maybe it was like a 30-pound bag of meat or something.
Like I think it came to like 20 something, because I think on my own, I think I had like from the antelope I actually got, I think was like 18 or 20. And then I remember you threw a couple, like 3 or so extra like bags in there that I think probably bumped it to like 30 something maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I remember making the comment with like, and I don't know if this is jumping ahead of like, I don't know what you had kind of like notched out of like going down the storyline. But I remember when we got all the antelope and we're like field dressing or whatever, and you asked me like, "Oh, so was it worth it?" And I was like, "No, not really." And I can't remember if you asked me why or just like look on your face was like asking me why. And I was like, "Well, I spent like $300 something for like maybe 15 pounds of meat." I was like, I could have got Franklin's brisket down here in Austin, Texas, which is like world-renowned barbecue. Could have got more of it for less. It's like this, I still have to cut out, cook up, do whatever with. And I'm not a chef by any means, so like I'm not gonna whatever. But like I get that it's the experience and stuff too. So like I didn't mean it in a literal sense of like, if I could take it back, I want to do it.
Well, but come on, 100%. If Dad was there, that's exactly what he would say.
I
could buy a lot of beef for this.
Yeah, he'd be like, next year, no, count me out.
Like, how about we go to Iowa and buy a cow, butcher it?
Yeah,
we'll make that a family experience.
Oh, you're paying a couple extra bucks, and I bet we can hunt it out of their field.
No, it was but no, that kind of is a precursor to the rest of the hunt. So we had so he was flying at home, which is its own deal. So we had to consider that, like, figuring out, making sure we had a way to get it frozen and everything else, what led us to renting a cabin versus something else or camping or whatever else. But so that first spot, you stayed warm. That was my number one thing. I was like really concerned, like if us standing out there, because basically what we did is we hiked to this ridge. And you could see it from the ridge we got to. You could see what, 2 other groups of hunters, or one, like to the south of us. Like
2. I think they were all of one group, but they were split into 2s.
Oh, okay. But they were so basically and this is again running through my mind. Like I literally just walked him into another like, hey, let's walk and post situation. Which I wasn't anticipating us running into. But so you get this, there was a group of guys, split up or something on this other ridge straight to the south of us. So they had the next best high ground spot. And then a third group, I think later on, we had seen hike up and over into a different spot. So there was like 2 groups basically, and us to the north, which way more spread out than an Iowa situation. But basically we glassed it for 30 minutes, maybe, didn't see anything. Maybe it wasn't even 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden we hear like a shot ring out. And then another shot rang out. And then it was like, okay, Chris, get ready. Something could happen. So I take my backpack off, put it on the ground for him to get a gun rest. You got your gun up. And then we had 3 antelope bucks like running right at us, or 4?
I think it was
a group.
I think it was 3 antelope. I think only one was a buck. I could be misremembering. I think it was 3 total. I can't remember I know at least one was a buck because that was the one I was following because it was the bigger of the 3, like through the scope.
Yeah, he was big.
I can't remember because I wasn't really focusing on the other 2 that much. If what the makeup was. If it was, I know they weren't all bucks by all means, but yeah, I can't remember the other 2. I guess what it
so this group comes running at us. There's guys, at least one guy shooting at the group. Well, he takes 2 shots. No more shots ring out. Well, then we're halfway. Chris is getting set up, and I'm like kind of watching the antelope a little bit because they're literally on a bead line, like right to us. So I'm thinking, great, this is perfect. They're going to just run straight on, probably end up stopping broadside at 100 yards, and he's going to be able to smoke one. And then I start watching the guys up on the hilltop who were shooting at him. And there's one guy sprinting towards us as well while the antelope are rounding his hill. And at this point, I think Chris was still setting up, and I'm kind of like, okay, gosh damn it. Like another situation of an idiot running around with a gun. And it actually happened. So the antelope are between us and this other guy. And I mean, these antelope were at that point? They were 300 yards. They were a ways away, I think, when I ranged them, when they were literally between us and those other hunters. Well, then the other hunter cracks off a shot, but the antelope were directly between us when he did. So that kind of pissed me off a little bit. And that was the only shot he took, which was good. But then that's just all that did was screw up our hunt, because then it spooked the antelope and they took off running. They never really stopped. They stopped a little bit.
You should watch your tax cam footage because
send it back.
I remember what you're talking about. Like when he did shoot, and I guess I didn't equate it to being directly between us, but looking back on it, I could see where that comes from. But it also still didn't bother me as much as the whole Iowa story told before, because when that happened, we were on one ridge, he was on another ridge, we were shooting down. I get that shooting stuff can happen, trajectory can happen, but that's way more far-fetched than being on the same level playing field shooting at each other.
That's a good point.
So in my mind,
go ahead.
I was just saying that, I looking back on it, I was oh yeah, I guess that did happen. But in the moment, it didn't it wasn't triggering me or anything of being what the hell is going on. I was just okay, maybe he'll scare them this way. Is all I was thinking of.
Oh, okay. Which is good, because in my head I was thinking, all I was thinking about was this. I think I put a lot more mental pressure on the situation in terms of what I expected this hunt to be like, and the situation I thought we would encounter and all this stuff. And then I'm all these flag moments of what I'm trying to avoid in my head are kind of happening. I'm gosh damn, there's other people here, which public ground, you're going to have other people, but usually you can create some distance, which we had distance. Number 2, other people shouldn't be shooting at the same group of animals that we're shooting at, which is what I really hoped for. But these people are shooting at the same group, and it happens to be in our general direction, which in my mind was just this flag moment of oh crap. But then, so they did, but you're right. Yeah, they were shooting, everybody was shooting downhill. Very pretty, and they had a really steep angle downhill, actually, where they were at. That's actually a good point. But then, so anyway, his last shot, though, regardless, it did spook these guys because they did stop for us. And at that point, I think they were 270, which you had.
Well, they slowed down and they got between us. And I was kind of surprised he took the shot, not because it was reckless in my mind. I didn't interpret it that way. I mean, I can see how it can be seen that way. But it surprised me because they weren't obviously you don't need them to be it's preferable for them to be stand still. I get that
for sure.
But they were doing a casual, just kind of jog through to where and you said, the guy was not full-fledged sprinting, but you could tell he was in that oh shit mode,
in freehand.
We missed this shot, let's not lose these guys, I'm going.
And no gun rest, Iowa shotgun, pick the gun up and just shoot.
Yeah, he's are you silly? I'm still gonna send it. And he went over the other side of the hill. So I was a little surprised he took the shot, because in my mind, I wish he didn't, because I was
it was working right into
they seemed like they were starting to slow down, they were
feeling
comfortable again.
Yep.
And so that's why I was had he not taken the shot, I was oh, maybe another 40 yards or whatever, they stop and start eating. But he did. And I remember they took back off a little bit, and I don't know all the dimensions and stuff because my tape measure is here in Austin, but they ran towards the road, and I remember they stopped, not a full stop, but like stopped and started just like casually walking or whatever closer to the road. And I remember, I guess that's where I was saying like, hold on, wait a second, because like I was still on him with the scope and like fighting scoliosis using your backpack as a rest, because you said I'm 6 inches taller than him. Well, his backpack's not 6 inches taller as well. And
so on that note, like when I use my backpack as
like,
oh, you were hunchbacked as hell. When I use my backpack as a rest, I sit my butt flat on the ground and my legs out in a V, and I put that backpack in my crotch. And I lay that gun on. Yeah,
I was literally like, looked like I was going to propose to him, and he's like, "Here's my backpack, by the way."
Yeah, well, I feel like that's the tallest thing I can give him is my backpack. Like he's not going to be able to lay down and shoot these because the safety.
Well, I think I tried to lay down. You're like, "No, don't lay down. Like you don't want to lay down. Like here, you like use this as a rest." And I was like, "How about like what? Like it's what?" Like, okay.
Like, maybe instead of all the scouting we did on Thursday, we should have practiced a few reps. Like, hey, bro, in this situation, here's what we're gonna do.
You should have looked like a militia out there in Wyoming.
And on the flip side, oh, for sure, and saying the same thing. So, like, I literally just had a conversation with a buddy this year. So, these antelope, before the guy shot at him a second, they shot at the group a second time. They were like 270 and working towards us. So it was like just perfect situation in my head. I think. I'm almost positive I would have made the decision if I was those guys. If I saw the people straight across from me on the other ridge and knew the antelope were going to them, and they were for sure closer to us, I believe, than those guys. If I remember the situation right, I probably would have just been like, leave them alone. I'm not going to take another shot. Let those guys have it. I had my opportunity. Whatever. I missed. Whatever. I'm going to see more antelope this weekend, right? But anyway, so that was for what it was. But when they did that, those guys were like at 270, well within, because Chris had the you had my Weatherby, the 6.5 300, which is a screaming fast round. 270, 100%. I would have said, Chris, put the crosshairs on that sucker and squeeze, and you're going to drop him. And that didn't happen. So they ran off and they stopped at 370 yards. I'm still new to this long range shooting thing, and 370 is not, I wouldn't classify it as a long range shot. But in my head, it registers different than something what I know my gun, if you just put the crosshairs on it and go, it's going to do. But I think your gun, I was talking to a guy about a story last year on a deer that I missed, or I missed because I aimed too high at like 350 yards, thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to aim over his back. And that bullet whizzed right over his back. So I think at 370, I could have said, hey, dude, put it on him and squeeze, and you might have gotten a buck.
What? That's why I said go back and watch the video, because I mean, actually, I can't remember if there is video, actually, because I can't remember if I hit the power button or if
you had the camera on.
Okay, I can remember that. But like, I was following that dude, and like like I said, he was still walking. It wasn't like a still broadside shot, but it was broadside.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of like walking along and stuff, and I was just following him. And I can't remember if you were trying to get the spotting scope on him or what you were doing. You're like, oh,
I was trying to get the rangefinder on him and hit him at a positive range, and it kept like bouncing between like 4 something and 370. So I was trying to figure out. I just remember
you telling me to like hold up, like whatever, and I was like, I got him. Yeah. And you're like, no, just hold up a second.
I should have let you shoot.
And then it was like shortly after that, I don't know what spooked them or what.
I think they just got it in their head to get out of there.
Took off and went across the road and like went over one of the little hills and stuff. And so I was just like, I felt like it was probably, I feel like it was longer than it actually was in reality, because I'm just staring at it like down the scope.
Yeah.
But like, it felt like it's like I had plenty of time there. Like I could have, just.
I think you could have. The doubts that were going through my head was, number one, I was 90% sure it was the antelope was the thing that was at 370, and whatever else I was bouncing off of, because I was standing up and moving. It was the further target, but I wasn't positive. And then the second thing was like, I looked down at you a couple of times, hunched over on that backpack, and I'm like, I know as steady as he can get like that is not steady enough in my mind. Like, right, I'm like, I want him to be like rock solid. Like, hey, dude, I've got this. So that was a doubt.
First off, your Christmas present just got downgraded. Second off, how dare you?
No, I mean, it wasn't a knock to you. It's like, I don't know that I would have had the confidence to take a shot in the position that you were on that backpack. But you were probably rock solid. I probably, like I said, looking back on it in my head, this is what happens after a hunt, Chris, is you think about all the things that went wrong and, oh, it could have been great. You just don't know because you didn't pull the trigger, Aaron. So either way,
No,
how much I like to pull the trigger. So
no, and I guess like it changes in my mind hearing you say that it was from the rangefinder stuff, because I don't even know. I don't even think I looked at you, because I think I just stayed staring down the scope.
you were
the whole
dead
time.
nuts. Like you stayed in the scope the whole time.
But so I thought it was like you were trying to like set up your tripod to get your camera out to do all that type of stuff, and I think that's why in my mind I was like, "Are you serious? Like, come on! Like,
Aaron,
I can do this."
You're not a professional
like
videographer.
I was like, this isn't Instagram, bro. I was like, I can do this. Like, you don't have to hashtag it. I can just freaking tag it with the bullet and we can be good.
Dude, that spotting
which is why
I
think is why I got a little snippy with you the next day when we were setting up there at like just inside that public land or whatever where the guy ended up driving in, was because in my mind it was the second time in the same day that you were taking your sweet ass time, setting up the tripod, doing whatever, and there was like bucks. I was like, I'm not doing this again.
I'm not gonna miss my opportunity.
This is an even better setup.
Yeah.
I was like, because I remember saying to you multiple times, like, come on, dude. Like, when there's like, hold on one second, like I got this, whatever. It's like, no, like, come on.
And I was taking my sweet time.
I'm already melting snow on my own crotch right now. Like, it's not a pleasant experience. But I was like, they're walking, like they've got to be like close to like the range we need them to be in public land and stuff by this point. And I was like, get your shit set up. Like, let's go,
dude. What the hell are you doing?
It's because of that. I was like, I already missed one opportunity. It was like, I'll be damned if I'm gonna miss another one. A couple hours later, it's like, let's go. But yeah, like I thought it was like you trying to get like everything like focused in and zoomed in and whatever. And I was just like, I was like, I get it, it's cool, but it's like, I got shot. Like,
no, it wasn't the setup for that. And I'll be 100% like, I don't care how many YouTube videos I want to put out there. I am not a guy that's going to miss a shot for a camera. I promise you that. Like, even on my own, I want it. So with this situation, when those, like, I heard the shots, right? We both did. We heard the shots. And immediately your attention draws to where the shots came from. And there wasn't anything for a solid 30 seconds to a minute. Like, we didn't see anything. Well, then all of a sudden, this herd of antelope comes running over the hill right at us. I'm like, oh, crap. So I remember backpack was off on the ground and the spotting scope was in the backpack. I had nothing to even set up. It was just, I was unzipping my rangefinder, getting ready to hit them when they stopped. And that's why I was like, dude, get set up on that backpack. Make sure you turn your Tacticam on the scope, whatever, just for the hell of it, because it was your first hunt. So I was like, let's try to get them on video more than anything for that. But yeah, so that one was a bust. The antelope were just, I think they were too spooked after being shot at it a couple of times. And they did see us up on the hill moving.
I've been shot at before. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they didn't really stop. I mean, we watched them go for a mile before they disappeared. Like, they were gone.
Well, they would run off to where you think they were gone. And then one of them would poke their head back over a hill in one spot. And they'd just be casual, but then they just trot back off. You're like, all right, now they're gone. And you go back to looking over here and be like, oh, what's going on over here? Oh, hey, there they are again. And then like trot back off the other side of the hill. Like, they were just kind of like,
they didn't know what to do.
Yeah, it seemed like they were genuinely scared on like this side of the road, and they ran to this side of the road, and they're like, hey, it's really nice over here. Let's just check it out for a bit. But then they'd like look back and be like, oh yeah, we forgot we hated it over there. Like, that's scary. Like, let's go back this way. And like, I don't know. Yeah, they couldn't figure it. It's like the rabbits at Grandma and Grandpa's house. They're just like, do we give them another shot? Yeah, let's give them a split second. Like, let's let them think about it. Like, no, we're gone now. Like,
yeah, they were funny, man. That group, I mean, it was a nice buck. That was the only thing I felt bad about, was not letting you just take the shot. I should have just told you go for it, dude, if you feel like you got it, because that gun's flat shooting enough. I really think I don't know. I'm more picky about anything over a distance that I know I've shot before. I'm in my head still about, even if it's 300 yards or 350 yards. It's just like, I've never done that. So it's like,
yeah. Well, and like you said, a lot of it's in hindsight, and in even more hindsight now. I guess this wasn't like going through my head at the time I was looking down it, but like, like it was a relatively flat shot too by that point, because the way the topography of that went down is like, we were on one ridge, and the ridges like split down, not that steep, but like decently steep. But then when it came out of the ridges, it like flattened out as it got to the road more. And like, so where we parked, like, we didn't have to go like up a steep hill to get there. Like, we were already up the flatter part of it, like the basin. and stuff. And so when they were running through the middle, they were coming up that like flatter portion of the base to get back to the road almost by your truck. So I mean, there was probably maybe like a 20-foot drop or so in that shot, and it was still a drop too. It wasn't going uphill at them; it was going down at them. So yeah, I mean, Grant, like I said, that's an extra hindsight. Like that wasn't like me spinning numbers in my head of
right.
like
being Rain Man through the scope. You're seeing
numbers, the aerials effect and stuff. Yeah, doing whatever, but like it would have, probably would have been a relatively straight shot, and
I think so.
Whatnot, but
in 370 yards with that, like I don't know, with that round, you should probably be able to put it right on the top, like level the horizontal crosshair on his back, and it'll probably drop into the chest cavity in that range. Because I have my guns sighted in at 200 yards, like 0 to 2, so you should be pretty solid. But regardless, that was our first big opportunity, was that, and that's kind of how it played out. Like, well, crap, it happened super fast. Like again, I was anticipating this, like, hey, we spot an antelope way off, we sneak into shooting range on them, we set up real casual. Chris has a tripod, he's rock steady, I get to range him, film it, the whole nine. That's the picture I'd painted, and this was polar opposite. This is, hey, how fast can you shoot, bud? Like, this is going to happen this fast. And
I can shoot pretty fast, bud.
Oh, I know you can. And actually, historically, Chris is a better shot than I am. We're like, everything I feel like we've ever shot at, he's better shot than I am with. So we play this whole thing out. It doesn't really work out. So we end up hanging out for we probably stood up there for another half hour, let things calm down. And then we end up seeing the guys that had shot the 2 times. They did get an antelope buck down. So we watched them kind of get down there and get to it, take some trophy pictures and stuff. And we end up spotting some antelope, like as absolutely far off in this piece of public as you could possibly get. But reading the map, we weren't really sure if they were even on public or if they were just off it onto private on the next hill over or whatever. So we didn't end up going after them. And then we end up just hitting the truck and then starting to backtrack our way kind of towards the cabin at that point, but hit some of the spots we'd seen antelope before. And it was just truck after truck after truck. And every place, the one place we stopped was where we saw the bulldozer basically go through of antelope tracks. And we hiked up to the top of that little knob. And there was there was at least 2 groups of people already parked, like sitting back there.
Yeah, on either side of like that whole like mini canyon thing.
Yeah. So I think someone must have driven by and dropped at least one of those groups off, because there was one of the trucks had an Iowa plate, and we had met some guys at the bar the night before that were from Iowa, but there was 3 of them, and there was at least 4 people on this backside of this canyon thing that we looked into.
Yeah, but I took a Mousestones out of their tires when we left, so it shouldn't have been them. Like,
perfect. I hope they made it home okay.
Yeah, me too.
From Iowa with love.
I was worried about it. Yeah.
So, but no, that was kind of cool seeing some local guys from Iowa, because they were on their first antelope hunt too, or at least one of them was. And so we kind of shared the Iowa moment a little bit, and I gave him a little bit of advice I felt like that I had learned before from antelope hunting or whatever. But
and then we gave some awkward silence, and then we
walked away and went and ate dinner. Yeah. Which is okay, because it was all separated by a really good old timey band that we got to listen to. And we didn't win the cutting board, which was kind of depressing. I think
that was a nice cutting board. He was specifically looking for women, I feel like.
Well, he was, but a guy won. But you know what? What I noticed.
Sorry.
You're good. What I noticed about the guy that won, he was the only guy for the 20. I thought the guy already gave the cutting board away. It was a solid 10 minutes later. He walks over.
Oh, he lives for that shit. That's the highlight of his week.
Gave this guy
I can't wait till Friday.
Yeah. So it's the oldest guy in the bar. Apparently, he hand makes these cutting boards. And,
days from death. Yeah.
Yeah. So the band they announced this, and they're doing some contest, and they give away a shirt, and they give away a CD, and they give away something else. Well, then they advertise, oh, and by the way, we got this like really nice handmade cutting board, blah blah blah. If this is I think they asked, if this is your first time at this bar, raise your hand, and he's going to pick somebody to give this to. So we raise our hands. Like a bunch of people in the bar raise their hand. Everybody put their hands down, because he walked right by our entire section and went off. Like you said, I thought he gave it to some lady down at the end of the bar or something. And then it had to be I swear it was 10 minutes later. No one's hands up except for one guy. His hand's still up. And then you see this guy walk by, cutting board still in hand, and he goes and gives it to the one guy 10 minutes later that still has his hand up. I think he was like playing a game to see who's gonna fall out.
Like, whose blood circulation's the best?
Yeah.
All right, keep the hand up.
I swear that's why he gave it to that guy. That or they already had it pre-figured out. He knew he was going to get a cutting board that night.
I don't know, but that was a nice looking cutting board.
It was a great cutting board. But anyway, so we stop at this second spot. Like Chris said, dude, there was like it looked like someone took a 20-foot wide rototiller through a half a mile of snow.
Just imagine when Noah parted the Red Sea and everybody marched through it, what their tracks must have looked like.
That's exactly
but then 100%. Give them antelope feet, and then do the math.
Yeah, exactly. And it was exactly the length of the Red Sea too, I think, actually, where they crossed. So no, it was amazing. 12 feet, yes. Yeah. So we saw that the day before, and we're literally like driving this gravel road, and this like bulldozer track of antelope tracks is like kind of meandering across like beside the road a little bit, and then it crosses the road. And anyway, we pause, and on this piece of state ground, there's like 100 antelope sitting up on this hill, and they weren't there the next day when we stopped. So we hiked up to that hill real quick, saw there was 2 other people on the backside already basically camped out. It looked like they were going to be glassing, hoping antelope would come to it, I'm guessing, that day. I don't know why else they'd be sitting there hoping something would come by. But
I'm guessing they had eyes and they saw the footprints, but that'd be my guess.
I'm just saying, like, there weren't antelope there. Like, I'm guessing they were like, hopefully something comes in here today. And which,
fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. A good plan, I guess, because if by that point in the morning, people probably already spooked every antelope in the area. So we end up meandering back. We drove through all the other little random spots, and we didn't see any other antelope, I don't think, did we? Just from that first spot, we saw some on private.
Yeah.
We saw some dude blow a stock at like 20 yards from some antelope, which was kind of funny to watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot the guy on the ridges. They were walking right towards them. This is gonna be a bloodbath. And it absolutely,
and the antelope won.
Like, the guy, I don't know how much peppermint schnapps that guy had that morning, but it was more than enough. And he could have thrown his rifle at them by that point.
Yeah,
and
no joke.
Had better chances. But
that was awesome.
It was embarrassing.
Yeah, so we watched the guy blow a stock on some private ground. And then where did we go after that? Did we go? No, I think we just went. So we at that point we're like looking at the map, and so the spot that the second best spot we had was something that we had kind of already planned to hunt like the evening. Like, it was going to be an afternoon spot. We're going to start in, hike into it, and hopefully run into some antelope pretty deep into this big piece of state ground, because people already, even driving in that morning, there was people parked along it. So I know people are already hunting it, but hopefully they drive them deep, and we could get the advantage by going deeper than other people are going to. So I asked Chris, I'm like, basically, hey dude, there's one state section we didn't check yesterday. It's north of the other piece we're going to hunt this afternoon, or we can drive south towards basically the KC gas station and hunt something different. And but that spot, this is kind of what the plan is, but we haven't ever seen this other state ground. And Chris was like, well, let's go to the state ground first. I'm like, okay. So we end up heading back up towards this big piece of state, and we drive by. There's a few trucks still parked over there on the big piece that we're going to hunt that afternoon. We get just past it, and on some private ground. You got a guest?
He's being a dick.
One of Chris's dogs.
I was petting Doctor, and then he was going after him afterwards.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, now he's ashamed. He won't look at the camera.
He's way smaller than Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny. So anyway, we get just past this piece of state that we're going to hunt that afternoon, and there's a group of maybe 10 antelope total, just kind of cruising.
Probably somewhere around there. Yeah.
So it
was like one buck, I think, was all that was with them, and the rest were all like fawns or does.
Yeah. Yep. So we're driving down the highway, and 20 yards off the highway, there's a group of antelope following the fence line. And one buck, and definitively an adult fawn and an adult doe, and a bunch of other fawns, and then maybe another adult doe. And anyway, so I just glanced down because I've got OnX open. I glanced down on my phone, and I see that then if they cross the road they're heading towards, that next field is is public ground. It's a piece of state, and it's basically a corner that intersects. Like it's basically a big chunk of state on one side of the highway, but a corner of it goes over the highway and is on part of this guy's field, basically. So I'm like, Chris, what do you think? And he's like, are you kidding? We're still going to send it.
Yeah. Are you silly?
Yeah. So he's like, dude, let's try it out. Whatever. We got nothing else, dude. There's an antelope right there. Go after him. So we whip the truck into the entrance, park it on the state side. And that's where your other story starts kicking in, of you feeling like I'm playing cameraman number 2.
Yeah.
And so
kind of like an Instagram boyfriend over there for a second.
So this is all happening pretty quick though. So these antelope, they're not running, but they're on a march. Like they're trying to get where they're going to go. And so with antelope, one thing you got to note is they fall, like they don't jump fences, they'll go under them. So they basically, a lot of times they'll run into them and follow them. Like they're not going to, they'll look for an easy crossing. So anyway, they had to figure out their way through this other fence that was between us and them, which I thought was going to be maybe an issue. So we pull in, Chris gets, the gun he's going to be using out, and he posts up on like this sniper bed of boulders that were like, must've been pulled out of the field or something, basically laying prone in the snow, aiming at these antelope. I'm looking at my map and like making sure I'm doing line distances to all the borders of the state ground, because we're basically hunting an L shape of private that's pretty small, or public that's pretty small, and the rest is private. So I'm like trying to calculate, when I range them, if they're this far from Chris, if they're this far, they're on public, if they're that far, they're on private. And that was what I was trying to do all the way around them. So no matter what route they took, he was doing this. And well, Chris is like barking stuff at me this whole time when I'm sitting there on my phone trying to calculate these distances out. So he's thinking I'm setting up cameras and stuff. Well, then
not the whole time. There was once certain areas of my body, the moisture content started to go up.
The cold started spreading to your special.
Yeah, the temperature went down, the moisture content went up, and I started getting cranky.
So he was getting antsy. Well, and to your credit though, those antelope, they came right through the fence, like literally just right through it, and they were coming right at you. Like they were walking right over the hill, right down to them almost. So then once I get the distances all dialed, I'm like, okay, when I range them, I know how far, whatever direction they are, I can just tell them, okay, shoot or don't shoot. And then, but then at that point, I'm like, this might work out actually, because they're not really scared. They're walking right to us. I might be able to set a camera up. So at that point, I did go get the spotting scope, the spotter LR, and all that stuff. And I was trying to get it so we could film this. And then I sneak over behind Chris. Well, these antelope are just doing everything perfect. They're getting ready to come down. Basically, they need to get like, I think it was like 20 more yards. And I could have told Chris, go ahead and shoot. And they're right there. The buck's right there. He's got a great shot. It's under 200 yards in this freaking truck. You hear him slow down on the highway, and he pulls into our entrance. You hear the gravel crunching under his tires. And at that point, I look over, see the truck coming. I see it's like a Wyoming license plated ranch truck. I tell Chris, hey, dude, get off the gun or whatever, because the guy's going to drive between you and those antelope, because it was a private driveway. And this guy drives by, and what he do? He just like, he was on his cell phone. He like looks out at us and then just kind of wait.
You're missing my perfect vacuum skills, because
no, I'm sorry. Let me back up and let Chris take it.
Yeah, he pulled off the road. And to be fair, I had the ears on, so I didn't hear him at all.
Yeah, you had earphones on.
And you had said something about like, hey man, like whatever. And so I was like, what? And I looked back over the shoulder at you, and I looked back the other way, and I saw the truck, and he had pulled off the highway into the little field entrance, and there was like a little, what could have been a gate, but because public land didn't have an actual gate on it, it was just like two little like fence things, and the road was cut out of it, whatever. And I was right off the side of the gate on boulders trying to keep off snow. And so I see him, obviously, and at first, because I'm like, I am seconds away from killing this thing, for lack of a better term, I literally still have the rifle in this hand. Like I put it down a little bit, but like I'm laying full prone, so I'm just like kind of laying it down a little bit. And I take my other hand and I like am like, shoot, almost like he's a barn cat. I'm just like,
get off your own property, go away.
Yeah, exactly. But I did the same thing Aaron did. At first, I just saw a truck, so all I thought was like, this is another fucking hunter. Sorry, this is another hunter. Trying to like pull in here to check out public land or whatever. He's gonna screw up my second now shot of the day. And I was like, no, I'm not having it. Like I'll die on this little hill of rocks I'm laying on, like, whatever. And so I'm like, no. And about the second time I went with my hand of like, I got whatever, like being a full Karen. I see the license plate and I see it says Wyoming, and I have the same thought process where I was like, oh, this is probably his land right beyond this.
Yeah.
I was like, he has every right to be here. And so my thing of backpedaling is it kind of came to me naturally, because on my second swipe through, there were like little, like, it wasn't actually wheat, but like looks like little like wheatgrass stuff like run up through, and I hit one of them and it came back and smacked me in the face. And like the little seeds of it like kind of went on my face. And so I was like, I went from going to back up to being like sorry, whatever,
brushing
like
seeds
like
off your
brushing it on
shoulder.
my face. Yeah, like trying to play it cool. And the guy, he was like on his phone, whatever, and he's like looking at me, looking there, and then he like stops for a little bit, and he like pulls on through and goes. And then like, sure as hell or whatever, like when he drives by, like the antelope, like look at him, like stop for a second, and then they start trotting off the other direction, and I mean, it made sense. I just thought that was funny, because then the guy came back to like apologize, like after like some of them had split off and gone actually in our favor, and stuff. He's like, I want to apologize. I wasn't trying to screw up your shot. I wasn't trying to mess you up. And I think he said something. I'm trying to remember how he worded it. I don't remember how he worded it, but he brought up how when he pulled in, about how he thought I was shooing him off, but then he's like, oh, you must have just been like brushing something off your shoulder or whatever. And so like then I pulled him by, and I was like, that's exactly what I wanted to look like, but I didn't think anyone would buy it. He totally bought it.
Yeah.
Like, I was just trying not to look like a dick, telling somebody like, no, get off your own land. Like, but yeah, it worked. So
it worked. Yeah. And so this guy, so it was the landowner for the private that we were, kind of bordering. And actually, so I'd forgotten about it, but while Chris was laying prone out there, there was another dude dragging an antelope out of the private field onto the roadway. So and Chris and I even talked about, we're like, oh, that guy, I'm assuming he poached it, like, because there was one guy by himself in a truck hustling to get a full-bodied antelope out of this field,
out of state plates.
And so anyway, when we see this truck pulling, we're like, that's kind of like, at first, before with the Wyoming thing, we thought, oh, whatever, it's probably another guy. Well, then the Wyoming plates tipped me off, like, oh, I bet he's going out there to get that guy, like off his property. So I was surprised he didn't stop with us, but just like you said, I mean, it did spook the antelope off, which kind of sucked, because there was one buck, and the one antelope that didn't come back was one of the bucks, or the buck. And then I think a couple of does left with him. But we're literally packing up, and then Chris is like, dude, they're coming back. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, I can't see them, because like the sun glare off the snow or whatever, they're like, the mirage was like basically hiding them from where I was standing. And you're like, dude, they're coming back. So we basically went right back to it.
Yeah, I was hoping it'd be all of them, but yeah, it was almost like half of them came back. Like, and yeah, the buck wasn't one of them, or the bigger buck.
The big one with the antlers.
But yeah.
Well, and so the way we had this laid out, Chris had a buck only tag, and I had a buck tag and two doe fawn tags. So in Wyoming, doe fawn is like, you can shoot an adult doe or a fawn doe, or if it's a buck, it has to just be like classified as like young of the year. So basically, if it's still milking or whatever, doesn't have visible horns, that kind of thing, like a baby. And so anyway, so when we realized the buck wasn't coming over, then I took over and I got the gun. Then Chris is calling the shots with the rangefinder and everything else.
And with the guy breathing down my neck over there.
Well, yeah. So we switch positions. I get behind the gun. I'm lined up, and
he gets behind me. That's all fun.
Yeah, Chris is behind me a little bit, and the antelope, they literally just worked perfect. They walked right across the driveway. They walked right into where we had to, like, they got to be this distance or less for us to shoot at them. And so at this point, Chris is just calling distances. Well, the antelope, they weren't ever really. These ones didn't act spooked, but they never stopped moving either. Like, they just kept walking the whole time. And so Chris keeps calling distances. I'm, looking at my phone, because I've got a dope chart on there for my gun, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, if they're this far, I got to hold this much over and all this stuff. And then, like Chris said, all of a sudden you hear gravel crunching under tires again coming back. And I'm like, gosh damn it, he's going to scare him away from me this time. And then I hear the truck stop, I hear a door open. And so at that point I just flip the safety on and like roll over and like look behind my shoulder. And the guy's leaning against the hood of his truck with his binos up, just watching the antelope that we're getting ready to shoot at. And so I'm
Occasionally
like,
take a bite of something out of his pocket. He had like pocket
Did he?
jerky or something. Yeah, he was just that's why I said like he just posted up behind me and it was just like yeah, I'll scope over your shoulder until he distances. He'll scope over my shoulder and tell me if mesquite's a good
he
fucking
squeezes your
seasoning for
shoulder with
me.
one
Like,
hand.
yeah. It's like, can you feel my love on your hip? Like that deal? Yeah, it's just like, and he hadn't said anything to us either, so that's what made it more awkward to me. One thing if like he had already like introduced himself or like whatever, like made it. It almost seemed like he was like, "Yeah, I want you to take that shot."
I know,
like,
exactly.
Like, are we okay being here? Like, I'm
I don't know you,
positive
dude.
this is public still.
I feel like this
by
is a setup.
distances. Yeah, it's like I feel like you're just like a cop. It's like, come on, run that stop sign. I dare you. Like,
Exactly.
make my day. Like,
well, and so like I felt the exact same way because he sits there and I'm just watching him. He's looking through his binos at the antelope I'm about to shoot. And so I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to think about this, but exactly what you just said, I'm like, this guy's waiting for me to break a rule, and then he's going to call me out. Like, I don't want to do it. So I took my ears off, and I think that motion must have caught his peripherals or something. Because then he starts talking to us. Well, then he, just like Chris said, he starts apologizing to us about blowing Chris's hunt, basically.
Yeah, it's like, do you not see what's happening
now?
Right over there. Yeah.
Well, so basically,
stage left over here. Like,
he basically just starts saying, "Hey, man, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize those antelope were there when I pulled in. I saw you guys, but." He's like, I knew you were on state too, but he said that other buddy, the other guy that had the antelope down in the road, apparently was a legal hunter that he let hunt there. And then he said, but that guy had told him that another vehicle had drove past him on his private driveway further in. And that's the guy that I guess he was trying to go make sure wasn't poaching. So he came back to basically just apologize to us and then try to like watch us through the binos of like what was going on.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, so are we good to take a shot here? Because at that point, the doe had moved on to what was she, like 390?
It was still, because I remember you saying like it went out like 200 something or 300 something yards. Like if you took a line, if this is the roadway line, if you went directly parallel to it, it's like 300 something yards that way.
Yep.
And then it went on for it, like there were power poles and stuff that kind of mapped out the other one. And they were still within, they were just like, it's like if we kind of sit around and play with each other much longer and talk about things, like they're gonna keep, because like you said, they were steady. They weren't scared, but they were just steady eating and walking.
Yeah, they
it's
never
like
really stopped.
Our windows just keeps getting smaller here.
Exactly.
Like, and whatnot. So the guy was super nice, and like the Midwestern, and I'm guessing you too, and me. It was like, I'm not trying to cut you off, but it was like they're moving. Like,
yeah, I'm getting to a point. And, oh, by the way, bud, I don't know if you know or not, but the longest shot I've ever taken is like 170 yards. So, and
it keeps getting longer.
They're double that right now, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make this. So yeah, it was perfect description. And he goes, so I think I asked him finally. I was like, do you mind if like we shoot? Because I said I'm not really sure at this point like where that line is, and he's like, oh no, go for it. So we're like, okay.
Well, he took a moment to explain the line there.
He did.
So
no, you're
like,
right.
oh no, go for it. He's like, oh no, you're good. He's like, if you see these poles over here, and you see that drive, like three drives down, go a little bit past that, you see a tree, and then that kind of goes down there. It's like, okay, this is cool, bro. You could have just said like,
they're getting away.
Like you're good. They're still on state.
Right.
Like we can touch base later, talk about specifics, but yeah, they're still on state. Like,
exactly. So they get out there, and it's a doe and 3 fawns that's there, and a definitive adult doe and 3 fawns that are all like the same size, like half of her size or less. So she gets out there and she finally stops. And I'm almost positive she was like 390 when you called it. Like you're like, okay, she's
360 or 390.
I think the next shots we took from the other entrance were 360.
Yeah, they were all 300 something.
Yeah. I think it was 390, whatever it was. You ranged it, called it, and I'm like in my head, I'm like, number one, if it was just me and Chris right now and she's on public, I have absolutely no problem taking a chance and shooting that far because I've never shot that far. I have faith in my scope. I have faith in the reticle. I have faith in the data from the Hornady app. But now we got an audience. I've got a dude staring back here that I don't know. This is questionably on his property or not, because I don't know. And he's watching through the binos, and I'm like, she's hard quartering away from us too. Like she's not like perfectly broadside. So, but everything was perfect. I was prone on the ground, super steady, whatever. And so Chris calls the distance. I look down at my phone real quick, reference the dope, get that lined up in the scope, take a deep breath, slowly squeeze the trigger, and I shoot, and you hear the bullet hit. But an antelope's not a big animal, so I'm anticipating she's either going to get walloped and maybe run a few feet and fall over, or she's just going to drop. Well, she just stands there. And I'm like, damn it. Like, cause I, in my head, either A, I missed, but I heard the bullet hit, or B, I put a bad shot on her. Cause antelope don't just stand there. Like they never just stand there. So then I'm like, but again, cause I have an audience, I'm feeling pretty bad about this. Well, I rack another round in, and then she kind of turns just a little bit. Well, then you see like guts hanging out, which is never a great thing, but the way she was quartering, it makes sense because the bullet hit where it hit in her gut, drove up into her. So it was a good shot. It was just not ideal. And so then I line up and I shoot again, and I don't think I hit her. No, I did hit her on the second. We found out later I hit her on the second one. We skinned her. She had a hole through her ham, which you can't see in the video or anything, because she doesn't act like she gets hit. She just kind of stands there, pivots a little bit, and eventually she just like lays down to like bed down.
She takes a couple steps and just kind of like curls up almost like a dog would to get comfortable, or a cat would, and just kind of chill there. Yeah.
She just kind of beds, and she doesn't, her head doesn't start wobbling and fall over like something that's hit really good. Is she just kind of bedded there, comfortable, like Chris said. And these three younger ones, they're just all standing around like, hey, what happened? Like they don't really pay much attention because she's still standing there or laying there now. And so then we're sitting there, and I'm like, I don't really want to waste a bullet with her on the ground because I don't feel like it's a great shot. I've just literally got her butt facing me and a neck to shoot at, really skinny targets. And but so we kind of roll over and we talk to this guy a little bit more, and he apologizes even more after that. He starts apologizing to you again for busting up your hunt and talking to us all this. And I was just like, well, I'm feeling bad because that antelope needs another shot to put her down ethically. And, but I don't want to be rude to this landowner guy either, So we're kind of talking about the situation. Finally, I'm like, I don't know did I ask him or did he tell us to go to that next field entrance and get a shot from up there?
Hey guys, Aaron here, taking a break from the podcast episode really quick to remind you to go check out www.lightthefireoutdoors.com. That's the website for Light the Fire Outdoors, as well as the Praying and Slaying podcast. And there you're going to find all kinds of faith-based blog content rooted in hunting stories like you're hearing here on the podcast. You're going to find all the podcast episodes, as well as all of our video content that's going to be uploaded regularly throughout our season as we get videos to put together. You also can check out our shop. Every purchase from lightthefireoutdoors.com goes back to veterans, conservation, and local outreach ministry here in our local communities. So you can get yourself a new Blackhound optic for the upcoming season. Those have been rolling out the door here like crazy. Lots of new customers getting those in their hands and loving them. You can also snag yourself a merino wool beanie. I love to wear them when it's super cold out on these Montana hunts. Keeps your head nice and toasty. Doesn't stink because it's made of merino wool, so you can sweat your butt off and not let the animals know you're there, as well as support Light the Fire Outdoors. And of course, we have our 4-inch vinyl decals. You can stick those all places that accept decals. Truck windows, beer fridges, meat coolers, all kinds of places I like to stick mine. But either way, check all those things out, guys. All of your support goes right back to those three things: veterans, conservation, and outreach out here in our local communities. So with that, let's get back to the episode.
Like, I can't remember if you said a place that we get like a better shot, or if you mind if we like walked up there to get it, whatever. And I think that's what it was, is if we went up there to get a better shot, whether it's walking, whatever. And that's when he volunteered. He's like, yeah, actually, he's like, if you go up, he's like, however many driveways, he's like, that's still state. He's like, until you pass like the trees and power poles, yada yada, it's still state. So he's like, you can pull up to that driveway, and he's like, you should have probably honestly a pretty straight on shot at her from there.
We definitely drove up to the second entrance. Yeah, because right before he was getting in his truck, because I got his number, because we told him, hey, you already told us you were trying to run a post drop before. We're going to be hunting here all, through the weekend and until Monday, which was what our plan was.
Or for the next hour.
Yeah. For the next hour. So we told him, hey man, if we see anybody here, we'll definitely shoot you a text, a vehicle description. And if you, obviously, who you let hunt and who don't. So, whatever, if I can get your number. So he gave me his number. And yeah, right before he got in his truck, I'm like, by the way, I do have another fawn tag in my pocket. Would you mind if I filled a few more tags? And he's like, go for it, like you said. And then we buzzed up. He left, and we buzzed up to that next field entrance, and we got prone there. But by the time we got there, that doe had her head on the ground, like she was like done. So at that point, it just turned into, okay, let's try to get my other fawn tag filled. Well, so we start glassing these things, and it was the same situation Jess and I ran into with our antelope. It was like, from one direction their head was turned, it looked like they may have none of them had horns on their head, but it looked like when they turn their head one way, you'd see a black patch. When they turn their head another way, you wouldn't see a black patch. And the difference between a buck and a fawn, or a buck and a doe, one of the generic differences is that they have a black patch for a buck and they don't have a black patch on their cheek for a doe. So we're trying to distinguish this. It doesn't really matter because all three of them are fawns, but either way, we're still trying to get this figured out, because Chris has a buck tag in his pocket for sure. So I think I lined up on one. Chris called. Did you go first, or did I go first on those?
I think I went first, and that's when I missed the two shots. We couldn't figure out why.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, you lined up first. So then, because we decided though that two of the fawns were for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Two of the fawns we decided were bucks, because you could for more sure see that black patch on their cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I think my shots kind of startled them more to where the other one that we didn't know was close. We knew it was a fawn, but we didn't know if it's a doe or buck.
Yeah.
Was closer. And so it's like, well, then you better take a shot, because like I'm obviously not taking a shot at that without knowing.
For sure.
And so we switched, I think, at that point.
So you went. So I was calling distances for you at that because the big adult doe, she had her head on the ground. We're like, okay, she expired in the time it took us to get over here. And so then we line up on this group of three fawns that are standing there. And that was the one thing about this hunt I kind of felt weird about, because I was like, again, I kind of planned it a lot in my head. I assumed you're going to come home with like a decent antelope buck. And then we're going for bucks that, are fawns of the year. And so it's like, I remember asking you, like, are you cool shooting this thing? Because this is your hunt, dude. Like, don't let me pressure you. Almost positive your exact words were, Aaron, a buck in the truck is worth two in the bush. Is that not what you said?
Pretty much, yeah. Exactly, yeah.
So at that point, I was like, okay, dude, like, I'm just making sure, because I drug him all the way up here to Wyoming. Like you said, you paid the high fee for coming, the antelope buck there or whatever. So at this point, we're shooting at like miniatures. So it wasn't like we're going for trophies by any means, but it was like, okay, let's get Chris behind the gun and try to get one of these guys down. So we switched spots. Chris is back on the gun. I'm filming through the spotting scope on the backside and start calling the distances. And like, so what happened on the first one?
I don't really know, because I like, you gave me your phone with the chart and everything, and you're giving me distances, and I was just, because it's the first time using the dope chart and everything for me, so I was making sure I was interpreting it right. I was like, so this is, it says this on it, so like through the scope, what, like, just so I'm making sure, like, what's that actually mean? And you're like, oh, well, this is like a notch for each one of these stuff. It's like, so about like a notch up or two notch, I can't remember exactly. And that should be good. And like looking through the scope, I mean, even on these guys, like a notch or two up wasn't much. It was like, if I was trying to aim like dead, right on the shoulder, like center of the shoulder, whatever, two notches up in my mind, the scope was like putting it closer to the top of their back, but it wasn't even like at the top of their back. And so I was like, okay, like, cool, like, got it, ready to go. And especially on the first shot, like I said, I've shot plenty of times and stuff, and I'm usually a pretty good steady shot and calm about it. And so when I shot, I didn't have any doubt in my mind. I was like, it's gonna hit it, whether it hits it exactly where I think it's gonna hit it or not. It's like, this is still gonna hit it, because it's still pretty, like, almost center of mass shot,
Yeah, and it's a 6.5 300 Weatherby, so it's gonna wallop it.
Yeah, and so when I shot and I didn't see anything, and I didn't see a jump, I didn't see, an actual, like, any, like, visible impact on it or anything. It struck me as odd. And I can't remember if I asked you or not, but I was like, I hit it, because I was like, I don't think I did, like, there's no visible sign of it. But at the same time, I was like, I don't know not being cocky by any means, but I was like, I don't know how I could have missed it.
Yeah.
And I think you told me it was like, well, either you told me I missed, like I didn't hit it, or like it was just going on the fact of like I didn't see any impact of any sort.
On the first one, I think I told you, because I watched that bullet hit like way high and behind it. Like not way high, but it definitively hit behind the antelope. Didn't touch the antelope. It went over its back and hit back further.
Yeah.
I watched that one hit the dirt.
And so I remember like racking another round, and I looked back at the dope chart, and I can't remember if I asked you again, just to like make sure, like, so this is what I need to do, right? You know, because it's like I was still sitting there like I don't know what went wrong, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd punch myself in the eye with the scope.
He got his first scope burn.
The first time, yeah. It's also a first for me because I know it's something to look out for. And I chalked up the Tacticam thing being on there, like, oh, well, I guess it's a little bit bigger of a scope than I gave it credit for, whatever, you know. But I think also I like racked it up to like, you're a right-handed shooter, I'm a left-handed shooter.
Yep.
And I remember from the deer hunting days of the couple shots I got during that weekend of hunting and stuff, I was consistently shooting behind the deer, and I couldn't figure out why until we got to that random frozen over pond and we threw like a dirt clod or a rock out onto the ice and started shooting at it. And I figured out like, oh, I'm shooting considerably to the right of where I think I'm aiming every time.
Yep.
And so I can't remember if it wasn't until the third shot that I switched eyes, or if I even did that on the second shot. But yeah, I did the same thing, like kind of like dialed in, like made sure steady. The second shot though, I do think because I was a little bit frustrated because I'm not used to missing at all.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it is frustrating, yeah.
And just also like, I don't know how many more shots I'm gonna get before, because I don't know antelope. So I'm just assuming any wild animal, like something zips over their back, whether it's by 4 feet or a couple inches, like they're gonna notice it and they're gonna be scared.
And a big bang. And yeah, that's a good point to bring up. So these guys, they stayed, I mean, they literally just basically stood there. They trotted off like 10 yards maybe, and then stopped as a group, calmed down, and started eating again.
Yeah. And so I was just like, I need to get the shot off. Like, so I think the second one, I don't think I rushed in the sense of like I was all over the place, sloppy by any means, but I was definitely in the mindset of like, I don't know how many more shots I'm gonna get. I need to make sure I get this on.
Yeah.
And I do it decently quickly. But then, like I thought I was doing it right again. I was like kind of looking at the white stripe of their back and kind of going from there. Or not their back, it's the white stripe.
The midline.
Like the first island, and going from there with like the notches and stuff. And I missed it too. And I think that's when we switched.
That was because at that
the second
point,
time they trotted off, it was like, well, now the two that are further back are the ones we know are bucks, and the one that's closer and has a better shot on it, it's like, I don't know if it's a buck, so I'm not gonna shoot at it, you know. But
so then because you shot the second time. Did we switch guns between those shots, or did you shoot one?
We switched guns because you were asking me like how many notches do you go up, whatever, and I was like, I did this, whatever, and I based it off of that white line and stuff. So like I was still in a good chunk of their body, you know.
Well, and
so
I'm
not sure what I did
for sure. And you had the 6.5 300, which all last season I had a lot of good luck with, but I had a different scope on there, and I switched scopes this year, and I never missed a shot in the field with it last year. But it's a gun that if you take it to the range, it'll just kind of frustrate you, because it's not like you're not going to pigeonhole a single hole every single time, but you'll, you can hit a clay pigeon 9 times out of 10. So at 200 yards. So it's not like it's not accurate. It's just, it's that gun that's a little bit of a wildcat. It's going to kind of move around a little bit. So when
but it's not precise.
Exactly right. So when you shot it and missed, I'd only taken it to the range to sight, get it zeroed and stuff at 200 with that new scope. So I didn't even have confidence in it having hunted with it, which for me is a huge thing. I've got to have, like, if you get a few notches under a gun's belt in terms of taking an animal with it, it'll build confidence through the roof. I didn't have that with this new scope combo on it, right? I'd taken it to the range. The range told me it was good. So when you miss like over that one's back, and like you said, you and I talked that shot out, you told me for all intents and purposes what you did. And I was like, man, you should have hit that, but it hit way over its back. We switched guns. So I gave you the 6.5 PRC, which I'd shot my antelope with Jess with, and I just shot my antelope at the furthest shot I'd ever taken and hit it both times that I'd shot at it, and drop, put her on the ground. So I had confidence in that gun. So then I bring that over to Chris and I lay it down and he lines up. He shoots a second time with this gun and misses. And we're not looking at footage, so I can't see what he's seeing through the scope, all these things. But yeah, so that was frustrating for me at that point, because then I'm like, gosh damn it. Like I brought him all the way to Wyoming. We got 2 guns. And now I'm thinking in my head, do we need to go recite these things in? Did they get bumped? How the hell did they get bumped? We literally just drove 100 yards down the road. What happened? So then I tell Chris, I'm like, well, I've got a fawn tag, so get out of the way. Let me try taking a shot just to see what the heck's going on. And then I guess we may have to go to the gun range after this, because I'm not sure what's up. So we're frustrated. We don't really know what's going on with the gun. And so I get behind it like, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and fill my other doe tag or my doe fawn tag here, to make sure that the gun's on, basically. Or if I miss, then we probably should go to a gun range and figure this out and sight these things in again or something. Like something got bumped. So I'm lining up behind the gun. Chris is calling the shots. He's ranging for me. He calls a distance. I think it was like 350 or something like that. And I reference the dope chart. It's this much of a holdover. I hold over. I literally just flick the safety off, and I've got my, I can't remember what the brand they are, but they're the headphone muffs that you can turn the volume on so you can actually hear better than what you normally can. Like they amplify sounds until a gunshot goes off. Anyway, I hear it sounds like a truck. It was coming down the highway. I could hear a truck coming down the highway, and it sounded like it might have stopped back behind us. So I'm laying there for half a second because that sound of everything throws me off. And then I flick the safety back on, and I just look over my shoulder, and sure enough, there's a bright green truck parked right behind us. And then Chris looks at me. He's like, what? And he pulls his finger out of his ears. Well, he hears the truck running. And then he looks behind him and sees the truck. And now we're like, what the hell? We got another audience all over again. Like, so we stand up. I can't remember if you said anything or not, but I take my earphones off, hang them on the fence. And I'm like, I go over, and it looks like a state vehicle, but they've got a decal on it that was so faded, like you could basically see the outline, like you can't really make it out, and it's like dust covered. So I was kind of like curious as to what it was, but it's just basically a guy in this. What's that?
It was tiny too. Like, I mean,
yeah,
it was
super small. So
something you would think would just be a bumper sticker on a back window,
yeah,
like a soccer mom saying what her kids do for fun. It was
like a weird
the they had on their door. Yeah,
like a weird colored green truck. But anyway, it's basically a guy in a sweater vest and his dog. And they're just sitting there staring at us. So I'm like, I don't want an audience all over again for this, especially not one that, it's not even a landowner. So it's not really like justified. Like, so anyway, I walk up to him and ask him how he's going. And he said, oh, good. And first thing out of his mouth, he's like, you guys have licenses for those? And I'm like, yeah, we got licenses for them. I said, I've got a buck and 2 doe fawn tags. And I said, my brother over here's got his buck tag. We're trying to get him his first antelope. And the guy's like, oh, okay. And gets quiet. And I'm like, do you need to see our licenses? And he kind of shrugs and is like, yeah, I could look at them. Like, okay. So then he like backs off onto the shoulder, gets out, and for sure, just a dude in a sweater vest. And we both get out our licenses and we hand it to him and stuff. And he's looking through them, and he asked us if we had proof of hunter safety.
Like, do you guys recommend, or not recommend by any means, I guess, definitely don't recommend military experience. No, I was gonna say that sounds bad. I'm saying like the state shouldn't recommend military experience. That would get very communistic.
Right.
But so do you guys recognize military experience, like a DD-214 or something? And he's like, oh yeah, we could do that. And I was like, oh, well, I have a digital copy on my phone. And he's like, oh, then you're good then.
Yeah.
And then it was all good again. I was like, oh,
and then that was it.
Like,
he handed the license back. Yeah. He was like, all right, boys, have a good day.
Yeah, I was like, why couldn't we have just started there?
Right.
But rather than going down this like seemingly accusational like channel of stuff. But
well, and I think where it really stemmed from is, I think at the end of the day, learning more from what I learned from my buddy that hunts that area all the time, is he said that like biologists will drive around too. So I don't think he was like an actual game warden, because number one, he didn't have a vest on, no badge, no.
Oh yeah, they vest. Just wasn't his vest.
Well, no lights in the truck. It was a sweater vest. It wasn't a bulletproof sweater vest. Yeah, I don't think. Maybe it was, but either way, it wasn't.
So I think they make this out of.
I think he was truly a biologist, just curious as to what we were doing. Like, hey, I see an antelope. So I'll pull over and watch this. Why not? And then we paused because it's awkward as hell to have someone watching you. And then we got in an awkward situation with him because I had to ask him to check our licenses. I could have probably just walked away from the truck, put my earmuffs back on, and went after it. It would have been fine.
Yeah. That's a pretty dog. You having a good day? Yeah. All right. We'll see you later. Yeah, you're right. You will.
All right. Bye.
Vroom, vroom.
Yep.
Yeah.
See ya. But so anyway, yeah, that was totally awkward, weird situation. But I've always stood by it. I always feel better. I don't know why I always do feel better when a game warden checks your stuff, or a fishing, you're fishing and they come check your fishing license, or hunting and they check your hunting stuff. It's just like a reassurance kind of, because there's a lot, especially when you're hunting out of state, because there's a lot of things that you got to make sure you have, like the hunting safety thing, right? Like you got to have some sort of proof apparently for Wyoming. So, all those little dot your I's, cross your T's moments. It's like nice when someone checks it, and they're the authority, and it's like, okay, verified, here you go. Like I always get a little bit of relief with that. Whether it's over here in Montana, if you stop at a check station or whatever, because then you just know, you're like, okay, I got all my ducks in a row. Because there's a lot, like even in Montana, there's a lot of random crap. You look at, you saw the crap of the pile of papers I pulled out of my friggin' baggie that I keep them in. That was all Montana crap that I handed that guy for my showcase of hunter safety or whatever. So either way, it was good to have that little check-in moment, but not, it was totally awkward and just totally, like the whole time, I think you and I both were just like, gosh damn it, these antelope are going to get away because this dude literally stopped to talk to us. So anyway, we get back down behind the gun, repeat everything we just did. Chris calls out the distance, we shoot, and so I end up hitting mine, hit him a little bit back, and he kind of they run off together. But so we really weren't sure if I hit mine or not, but then all of a sudden his legs kind of start buckling and then he lays down. So we're like, okay, now we got number 2 on the ground. The gun's still on. Chris, do you want to go again on it now? Like, let's try to get you out here. Cause there was one fawn doe there from what we could tell, and one fawn buck, and he had his buck tag still. So we got you back behind it. And on that one, they basically were at I think you shot yours at 370.
Yeah, it was a little further out. It wasn't much. It was just like the little bit of trot back distance they did after you shot yours.
Because at that point, there's 2 on the ground. Now they're getting a little bit unsure of what's going on.
Yeah, they're like, we're outnumbered now, but like they seem pretty comfy, so I guess we'll stick around. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that is what it is. Like, we switched rifles after the first shot, but I still shot normal. And I think it was when it came to the third shot, by that point, I was just like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing wrong. And so I was just thinking of stuff, because I think I still laid down left-handed. And before I took a shot, I was looking at the chart again. I saw that there was like a windage thing in there too, for like left to right. And I was like, well, I didn't do that last time, but I didn't miss it left to right. But I was like, screw it, I don't want to miss it again. I'm going to take that into account. And then as I was sitting there thinking about it even more, as I was aiming at it, I was like, I brought up the whole thing back in Iowa. I was like, I had air inside of my gun while I worked at the hardware store that day, and I was shooting right as hell all the time. And at that point, I didn't know how I was missing them. Like, I didn't know I was missing them up. I didn't know if I was missing them left, right. I didn't know down, whatever. I just knew I wasn't hitting them. And so to me, everything was on the table. I could have been missing them clear to the right, whatever. So I was taking that into account. And I was like, screw it, I'll just shift over and I'll shoot right, right-eyed, right-handed, whatever. And so I did, and I hit it. Granted, I didn't hit it where I thought I hit it once we got up there and checked it out, but I mean, I still hit it. And
you dropped
it. Like, it dropped like solid. Like, I think I actually aimed. I think that one too, because I didn't think I was missing them to the top. I thought I wasn't aiming high enough. So I think I went like another half notch up, which also makes sense of why I hit them where I hit them. Because I almost hit them, not quite spine, but pretty close to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I literally, like, of the 4 antelope we shot there in 30 minutes, like, he dropped like almost instantaneously. It was just kind of, whatever. Like, hit. Like, I think he took like maybe a step at most and flopped. Like, but so I mean, hindsight, it was good. But yeah, I think I just need to learn to either get my own rifle and bring my own rifle and sight it in left-handed, or just learn that if I'm shooting anything of yours at all or anything you touched to just automatically go right-handed.
Well, I think right-handed would have been good, but yeah, so that it's weird for Wyoming and Montana too. Like there was no wind like where we were, which was crazy. And I think I mentioned it to you on one of the shots, like as I was walking away, like when I set up that dope chart, I'm like, and don't worry about the wind column because there's like no wind right now. Like, but it is kind of confusing because even if you have it set at 0 wind on your, app, it'll still give you like a negative windage reading for like the distance that you go out. It'll give you a negative windage. So it makes total sense why you read, oh, I need to hold 1 mil left.
Yeah, and that's what I did. I went with the 0 mile per hour like windage or whatever on that, because that's what caught my eyes. Like, I remember you telling me that, so I didn't even look at it the first time, and then I was just sitting there kind of like, I'm not missing for a third time, let alone on camera. I was like, what else is there?
On camera.
What else is there to look at, and what else is there to like take into account, whatever. And so I was like studying that chart, and I saw that where I was like, oh, there's a 0 mile per hour. That counts still. It's not 0. It's like, do this. I was like, okay, well, I didn't take that. I didn't do that last time. So I was like, I guess I'll do
no,
this
you were shooting dead nuts left and right. Cause that first shot, it was high over the back. I saw it directly behind the chest cavity of the antelope. It was just like way behind him. So I knew you shot high. And then the second one, we couldn't see this. We didn't see the bullet impact anywhere. It didn't look like it hit the antelope. But when I watched back the spotter LR footage, you shaved hair off the top of its back. You shot exactly left and right where it should have been, just right over its back. And like, I mean, literally you watch the bullet, like you watch the trace of the bullet come through, and then you watch hair fly off the antelope's back, and he just stands there, doesn't move. And then the bullet's obviously way behind him at that point. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm scared. And he like moves, but he got it. You gave him a haircut on one of the shots. So it was just, you didn't hold maybe as high as you did the first time. You might've brought it down a bit, and then you shot again. But yeah, it was your left right was perfect. It was just, we couldn't tell obviously, but watching the footage back, you were dead nuts left and right, all your shots, except for the last one where you compensated for it.
I mean, that's just that service before self showing through of like the guy looked a little shaggy, and I was like, I don't want you,
you gave me,
I don't want you going out like this. I want you to, look clean.
You look the part. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
No, that was good. The footage is what told a lot, because I spent forever watching that, because it was pretty cool on some. You can see on mine, like I said, I couldn't figure out how I gut shot that second antelope, or hit him back. Because when we got up to him, that's when I realized I hit him back. I thought I hit him good, but then you watch the spotter LR footage from just the hair different angle than what it looks like to the scope. He looks perfectly cross-side or broadside. In the spotter LR, you see he's actually kind of facing us a little bit, which is why the bullet hit back further than what it looked like in the other video when I shot. But yeah, so you pancaked yours. He dropped right to the ground, and you toasted him on that one shot. I hit him a little back, like you said, but that was, you held for that, which was good. But then confidence booster for me too, a little bit, because I'm like, okay, good. Because then after the second miss, I was thinking the same thing. Like, gosh dang it, I hope that looking through a scope isn't that much different. Because like I can see a gun sight when you sight them in, or like iron sights, because you have to literally move the back of the back sight left or right, and that will very much change depending on how you're looking through it, left or right eyed. But through a scope, it's like that crosshair is still like the crosshair. I don't know that it would change your left right impact, your up down impact. There might be science behind it. Maybe I should look that up and put it in the show notes. But either way,
also another thing we noticed too, once we had actually like picked up and like drug off the antelope, like where the landowner wanted them, like off to the side of the field and whatnot. And I had like dialed in my Garmin with the GPS, like your windage, like your dope chart or whatever, was at 51 or 5200 feet altitude, and we were at like 4700. I don't know how big of it. I don't know what, like, it's a difference in height. I get that. I don't know how much of a difference in like how many notches or how many whatever that factors out to.
It's not much, because like, so I made those dope charts for that one at, like you said, like 5,100 feet, I think is what I said at, because like a lot of the places I was looking at hunting were going to be roughly that height. Like the BLM, I think, was a little higher than where we ended up being. The coulees in that state ground were a little higher than we were going to be. But anyway, when I looked at, like I've reset it a couple of times here for hunts I've done in Montana so far, and it's like 0.1 difference between 3,000 and
That's what I was kind
4,000.
of wondering.
Yeah.
If it was much at all. Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a certain elevation that takes over where it is a bigger deal, but yeah, so you dropped yours, which was awesome because we were both stoked, and then you hear me shout it in the photos like, "Great shot, Chris!" Like, because you finally, it's like a moment of relief for everybody. It's like he got his first antelope. It's on the ground, no tracking, no nothing. We got our other two laying there. Well, now we've got another fawn sitting there, and so my tag's basically good for whatever at this point. And then so we were kind of debating like what to do, because now it's like we're 6 hours into our first day of hunting. We've got 3 of our 4 tags filled just out of stupid luck. And now I'm like, I don't remember why we didn't decide to just shoot that one from there, but I think I think I was just kind of personally tired of like guessworking it, because we'd had just as many misses as we had hits there. So it was kind of like, plus the whole, biologist guy, it was just like a weird day. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of burnt on this. So yeah, we elected to go, like you said, the landowner said, hey, go ahead, and if you're going to take care of the animals here, go ahead and do it in this spot. So we went out to the big doe, we drug her off. And I think I told you, I was like, if that other fawn is still standing there when we get this doe where she needs to be, I said, I'll probably shoot. And we're like, okay. So we drug her off, and what was it like? It was still standing there at like 170 yards.
Us. Yeah.
Just watched us the whole time. Didn't even act scared at all. His 2 buddies laying, or her 2 buddies, whatever it was, laying right beside him. And 175 yards, I think. He was just standing there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know it was sub 200. Like it was like,
Yeah.
It was like over half or less than half the distance, like of the previous shots of like figuring it all out.
Yeah. And so we just finally was like, okay, if it's still standing there, we have 1 tag left, but our tag's good for it. Let's send it. So laid down, Chris ranged it real quick. We didn't really need it. It was just put the crosshairs on it and go. Bang, hits the ground, drops. We had 4 antelope down in a matter of, like you said, about 30 minutes, I think, from shot 1. And and our hunt was like effectively over at that point, which was kind of crazy, because then it's like this moment of like, dude, it's noon on Friday and we've got till Monday to hunt, or through Monday to hunt till Tuesday. You got to be back at the airport. So now what do we do with our time?
Mm-hmm.
So what'd you feel about like the whole situation? Because that was like, for me, I just kept thinking, the number one thought that kept going through my head was, I hope I didn't cheat you out of something. Like, because I had in my head, you're going to get like a decent buck, blah, blah, blah. Here's a scenario. And like nothing I had planned in my head went the way I thought it was going to go. It was all totally different. But per Chris, a buck in the truck's worth 2 in the sage or whatever. Like, yeah. I don't know. So like, how do you feel about the whole thing? Like after that?
For me, I was just pretty butthurt that I had to drag 2 of them myself. But outside of that, like I said, like I wasn't butthurt about it, because like honestly, I would have been way more butthurt.
A lot of butter
for the time, exactly. Yeah. If it would have came down to like Tuesday morning and we hadn't found a buck or something, and I was still holding out, or like a big buck, I should say, like, and we were like still holding out, and I had to freeze my ass off for 6 mornings straight, and yada yada and stuff. And so ultimately for the difference of maybe like 10 pounds of meat.
Yeah.
So no, I wasn't. I'll just say mad now instead of butthurt for the 12th time. Like I wasn't mad about it at all, and that's why, like, and I think I even realized that in that moment of just being like, it's not really worth risking it, because like I felt like you emphasized that so many times of like, yeah, like antelope, they're not the size of white-tailed deer, and that you don't get the same amount of meat off of them, whatever. So it's like, it's not a huge difference and stuff. So it's like, yeah, it's like cool. It's like I'm not folding up an antelope into a suitcase. Like,
right.
I'm
exactly.
not just hoping they don't see a leg sticking out of Southwest Airlines. Like, I'm literally bringing meat back.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's not like I'm bringing back the cape and the whatever and getting it mounted and taxidermy and stuff like that. So ultimately, all it comes down to is the amount of meat. And so it's like, am I willing to, like risk potentially getting nothing? Like if you want to put it in like poker terms, it's like, I'm not trying to like double down or like whatever. It's like, I'll just cash out now. and take, what I get. Not saying it was like, that makes it sound like it was like nothing, it wasn't nothing, but I mean, it was just like, I'd rather have something than risk getting nothing.
Oh, for sure.
And it's like, it's like right here in front of me. So it's like, let's go for it.
Yeah.
But
no, I like hearing you say that, because that's kind of my mentality on hunting. Like I get grief all the time because it's been a while since I feel like
I've seen the bucks you've taken in Iowa. Like I've seen your little 1 points and 2 points and 3 points.
Dude, I have a problem. It's not a problem. It's a good thing. I don't like spending money on a hunting license and tag and all the time and effort you put into it and ammo and yada, all this stuff. And then not coming out of it with, for me, 100% of it's to me. I like shooting big bucks. I've got a couple on the wall. I just shot a big mule deer here in Montana, but it's like 100% of it is like, I've got a tag. If I have an opportunity and I find a legal animal to take, the more I've done it, I'm slowly kind of getting into that, like, but it isn't a factor of I'm looking for a giant animal or specimen of a species to put my tag on. It's like, how bad do I need the meat? Which this year we've got between three antelope down there, 2 antelope between Jess and I up here, an elk. Like, and by the way, I'm still sitting on some elk meat from last year, some deer from last year. So I don't need the meat. So for like my deer hunt, it was a little different this year. This is the first year I was actually looking at a tag like, a buck's going to have to be pretty solid for me to put it on a buck. Otherwise I'll just shoot it though. Like, but at the same time, the need to go out and do it. So, but it's cool hearing you say that, because that's, for me, it's like, I get grief a lot for not shooting giant things all the time or holding out for this like giant buck. But it's like, at the same time, it's like, yeah, but you also ate a tag sandwich and I didn't. So I'll take I'll take those odds every day of the week. That was a reference to the campaign. I mean, maybe out of 100,000 phone calls, 1,000 of them have been dirty, vulgar. I'll take those odds every day of the week.
Still 1%. But no, it's like, and I could get that. Like if I was like, I guess not exactly the way you worded it, but kind of along the same lines. Like if I was a more seasoned hunter, if it was like something I did day in, day out, like, yeah, like after an amount of time, I'm sure I'd get more picky. But like ultimately for me, it comes down to like, yeah, it's still the experience. I get that, and I took that into effect, but at the end of the day, it's still like I spent money here for a reason.
Yeah.
And so ultimately it's just like I fulfilled that reason. Like I'm not like, and I've said this not just in hunting, but it's in other aspects. It's like I'm not that prideful of a person. And I feel like not that it's pride or arrogance that comes along with, hunting more or whatever, but like you get more selective because, like you said, like you don't need it as much.
Right.
And I know that sounds even maybe controversial to people that aren't pro hunting or whatever, but like you don't need it as much in the sense of like you become more selective. Not that you don't need it as like you didn't go out there with the expectation of getting something, and that you didn't have the expectation of using whatever you got. It's just that because you don't have that need of like, or not even need, just the ability to be like, hey, I've got all the freezer space in the world, bro. Like whatever I get, I'll take and all home.
Yeah,
I got space for it. You come down to that point of like, it's like if I get some, like I might have to, like, yeah, it better be worth it, because I might have to throw something out, or I might have to like grill up a whole lot of shit at once to like make room for this. Like
a bunch of way.
Yeah, like I'm gonna have to make it work.
Yeah.
Deal.
Yep.
Like not that it's like you're like I'm gonna waste it, but you're like I'm gonna have to figure out something to make it work.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like if I'm gonna have to like do that, like flex stuff or like make stuff work, it's like it better be worth it. For me, I'm not that way. I was like, dude, I have some chicken nuggets and frozen food in my freezer. I was like, I can make stuff fit.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just more of like, I don't want to fly out here. I don't want to do whatever and just not get something.
Yeah. Come home empty-handed and have nothing to, you had the memory to show for it, but you didn't have like there is something you need tangible. And especially like when you go, if I go out of state, there's a way bigger expectation for me than if it's like, oh, I just got my deer tag here in Montana. But like benefit of living in Montana is you get like, I mean, you can apply for whatever, dude. Like last year I had my buck, you get a general buck and a general elk tag, right? Or a general deer and general elk, good for either sex of either one. That's like $20 a piece. And then you get your I applied and I got like 2 different doe tags for ones that I applied for. I had an elk tag I applied for that I got a doe or a cow tag, and then another whitetail regional doe tag. And it was just like, dude, if I maxed out on everything I could possibly do this season, I'm gonna be like, what the hell do I do with all this? There's no way. It's no tangible way. And I have a solid size deep freeze, and that was like the first thing last year. So I got lucky and got to go on that hunt in New Mexico with Tacticam and get that elk. And then with that elk plus a mule deer doe, my mule deer buck, Jess's mule deer buck, my whitetail doe, and I drew 2 antelope tags. I got one of them filled last year. It was the first time, in between turkeys that I got, pheasants, fish, whatever I'd frozen. Like, it was the first time I'd seen the definition of a full freezer. Like, I could have fit 1 more pound of meat in there. And like, I'm like, okay, I clearly, like, I need to eat now, like, quit hunting, Aaron, like, go eat. And then we got through maybe a third of it probably on our own, just kind of like chipping away at it as we went. And then this year, Jess did a ton. Before I went on that elk hunt in Colorado, Jess gave a ton away to make room for it, which was perfect, because literally the amount of space she cleared was the amount of space I filled just by stupid luck. But yeah, it's like then this season, like I said, but out of state stuff, it's like a totally different thing. But like you said, there's still got to be the need for it, because now when I've seen what a full freezer looks like and I don't need it anymore, then you're literally at that point, you can almost chalk up the hunting to just you're hunting for fun at that point. It's not like what are you getting out of it that you can use, that you're not going to have to either, like you said, throw something away or give something away. And then if you're giving it all away, which is good for what it,
if you're still using it technically, then
yeah, but it's like still, then there's that weird factor of like, oh, I guess I'm just hunting for horns then for myself, which kind of feels weird to me a little bit, but it is what it is. But it's like at the same time, I spent the money on the tag and I got the tag, so it's like, okay.
That's another thing that factored in with like how you were like, oh, I feel bad because you're not getting like a big buck, and it's like that's one thing. It's one thing with deer or deer, like a lot of things, deer, elk, moose, stuff like that. With antelope, it's not really that big of a thing. Like even like some of the places we went into in town where they had like they weren't like record holding antelope, but they were like pride. Like they took pride in the size of this antelope, whatever.
Yeah, big ones.
It's like their antlers are like 8 inches long.
Yeah, they're not very big. It's like cool, bro. It's like not saying it's not anything you take pride in, but it's like, is that something I'm willing to spend up to the next 6 days in 20-degree weather for the first 3 hours of every morning on a mountain ridge with like wind blowing over me too and stuff, in hopes of getting a couple more inches. Like, exactly. And an antelope is 100% a game of a couple inches. Yeah.
And I'm not a size queen, so like I'm not trying to beat myself up over that by any means. And whatnot. And like I remember like mentioning that to you too, is like where it's like all that would have came down to is like the only thing I would have thought about different about that, because like obviously like I said, I'm not trying to bring the whole carcass back in a suitcase. So it would have been like, I would have been like, is there any way we can like cut the antlers off? Because I just would have brought them back for like Doctor and Mac, because like I know they love chewing on antlers and stuff. So it's like, to me, I mean, sorry if they're listening and the doctor wasn't here. I don't think he's in here anymore. I'm not that worried about that.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
So like I can go to Petco and buy some, like goat antlers or something.
Oh, for sure.
Like, yeah. So no, that didn't bother me. I guess I feel like a long-winded answer, but no, it didn't bother me at all. So
no, that's awesome, man. It was awesome having you up and getting to do it, and it makes me want to do it like every year if we get a chance to. I don't know if we apply, but then Jacob's little drop of knowledge, even if antlers aren't on your agenda, it sounded like there's some really cool opportunities maybe to jump to Wyoming. So the bigger cost there would be the plane ticket, I guess, but hunting whitetail does up there. Maybe for next year.
With deer, I think it's a little different. And Des might disagree with me with this, because when Brady lived with us here at the house, we had deer skulls and antlers and stuff all over the place. And she slipped a comment that she was pretty happy when they moved out and that wasn't a thing anymore. And I have little to no say in what goes on in this house. Not like it's a dictatorship. I mean, she asked me and put a lot. I just have very little passion about what.
Yeah, it's not like
there's a split around the
it's not
house.
your jam. Yeah.
No, I'm not an interior designer, so a lot of times she'll ask me something and I'm like, sure, go for it. Like, because it's like I don't honestly, I probably won't notice it.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna bother me enough to say yes or no about it. Just like, yeah, if you like it, go for it. But yeah, I do remember her mentioning that of like how she was happy about, like, I think we had like 4 or 5 deer skulls in like one of those little like mounts where they're all like kind of chained together down the wall.
Yeah.
In the kitchen, and then we had 2 like full head mounts in the living room, and then we had a duck, a rattlesnake, and a fox taxidermied on the mantle and stuff in the living room, which I thought was hilarious and I kind of like. And so and it had already been here for 9 months by the time Des moved in, so I was like, I didn't even think about asking her what she thought about it by any means. But yeah, I can't remember how it came up, but she mentioned that. She's like, yeah, it's kind of like, I wasn't happy that Brady and like Alex moved out, because she's like, it was nice to not have like deer skulls and everything all around the house. But,
so you don't need antlers around your house, what you're saying? Not for.
No, but like I would definitely give them to the dogs because they chew on them all day. So
for sure.
Like, you know,
so would you shoot
granted,
would you have any problem hunting for whitetail does?
Does versus bucks, what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is there a big price difference? I thought that was the big selling point of Wyoming, is that you could just go to like any convenience store or whatever and buy over the counter.
That was for a whitetail doe tag.
Oh, that was just does. Okay, I remember hearing whitetail tags. I didn't.
And don't quote me on this because I heard it third party, but he said, and we didn't check into it, you can get it for $30 over the counter.
Oh, dude, I heard it was just free. You could just word of mouth. You could just say like, "Hey, I talked to a guy, so that's why I shot these 3 deer."
Yeah, the cabin we stayed at, hell, we could have had bucks and does all night, every night.
Yeah, yeah.
They were coming in like.
I don't know how they would have rang that up with Airbnb, but I thought there would have been some extra charge for firing rifles out of the back window.
Just use archery equipment. Hell, they were 5 yards off the deck.
It's true.
I'm just saying, next year, if you didn't want to spend the money on an antelope tag, you could get a whitetail doe tag that state wants to get rid of and feel really good about it because you're helping Wyoming with a problem. That's
true, but I'd also be curious into just I'm basing this on the lack of whitetail does we saw while we were out there.
We weren't hunting in whitetail doe country. We'd have to find some river bottom spots.
No. That's where I'm going with this. Is I'm curious if those whitetail tags, if they're tied to kind of the same whatever it's called, units or whatever.
Yep.
Or if it's more just like this is like almost like a statewide.
Yeah.
Like you can just like if you see a whitetail and it's a doe and you have a doe tag, buck, if you have a buck tag, whatever, you can shoot it. Or if it's like, yeah, you're buying this tag, but it's in this plot of land or whatever.
Yeah. We'll definitely have to put in, I'll put in some research time and try to figure that out. But if it's a statewide deal, we could figure out all kinds of places to go. Hell yeah.
And I don't know about next year because, and granted, I've said this for the last, like 6-7 years by now, but plan on going to Oktoberfest if it's back.
Oh, I forgot.
We'll see how COVID goes. So, but yeah, I will do it at some point before I die. I didn't think I'd have to be saying it, but hopefully before I'm 30. I say that because I started saying it when I was 21 or 22, and now I'm 28, and I still haven't gone yet.
Well, you're gonna get there before I'm 40, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I have any friends getting married next year, but I feel like I've also said that the last couple of years, and that's what usually
just stop going to weddings.
Well, this year I was a groomsman for the first time, and so it's like, I guess I have to, because I was just going to be like, politely, I decline, but then also Oktoberfest was canceled anyway, so I also really had no excuse not to go.
Well, I guess if you're going to skip the now, which we can start now, as the annual Stonehocker hunting camp, you better skip it to go drink good beer in a good place, and that's Germany.
I will do that, assuming you work on your enunciation, because your annual sounds a lot like anal.
Anal?
So
annual.
Yeah. Well, there you really put emphasis in it the first time you did it.
Well, right. With that, we're gonna slap a big fat anal ending on this on this podcast. We've been cruising for a while, but No, well, I think we'll wrap it there, and everybody's gonna have to stay tuned to figure out what Stonehocker Fest. We're gonna start calling this Stonehocker Fest, and then
Okay,
we'll
there you
see
go.
what Stonehocker Fest. That was a wrap on Stonehocker Fest 2021, and we're gonna have to bring to you the Stonehocker Fest 2022 when it actually happens, and we'll work around Oktoberfest.
Are we gonna wait a month after we go hunting to talk about it again, like we did this year? Or-
Yes, that's the goal. You have to.
Oh,
You got
okay.
to have time to
Okay.
reflect and forget details. So you have to
Yep.
really
You got a
work through-
season. Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, everybody. Today wraps up the final segment. Man, this has been a long podcast series with my brother, but you know, it's funny. Chris, just my little brother, man, he's like one of the either most quiet or most talkative guys you'll ever know. But when there's something to talk about, man, he's one of the most fun guys to talk to, and I always enjoy spending time with him. So this is a really special treat for me, being able to have, you know, some time to take out of my our busy schedules, him as an engineer, me as a sales guy, and just head down to Wyoming, spend some time as brothers, man, and just really get some, you know, that time we don't get a lot anymore to spend together. And I think if 2020 through 2021 has showed us anything, it's treasure those moments that you get with those loved ones, because they don't come far too often anymore. We get so caught up with our daily lives. We're so caught up in, you know, living fake lives basically through social media and stuff, that those real moments just don't happen as much as they should. And that's my message today. Take time to relish in those moments. Take time to, you know, shut the phones off and get out there in the wilderness where you don't have any cell signal, and spend some time with those who matter most. Because I tell you what, this is a memory that I'm going to have for a lifetime. I hope he has for a lifetime. And I love that we got to record this on a podcast platform, because it's going to be something that I'm sure I'll listen to on my own, as well as hopefully he gets to listen to, and we get to listen back and maybe share with our kids one day, saying, hey, you know what, Chris and I, Uncle Chris and I went out and did it, man. It was awesome. So guys, with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for listening to this 3-part episode, almost 4-part episode. And I can't wait to get some more special guests on here. It sounds like John is finally freed up from his hunting season. We'll have him back. Jeremy, I really want to get him on to tell a story of his dad's moose hunt. And of course, Jessica, just out there slaying it with me, getting her first antelope. We want to get that story as well. So guys, thank you so much again for tuning in. Be sure to stop by and give us a rating on whatever platform you listen to the Praying and Slaying podcast. Also go check out lightthefireoutdoors.com. Pick up a new Blackhound optic, a decal, or a merino wool beanie, because with every purchase from us, you guys help give back to conservation, ministry outreach, and veteran organizations all around the United States. So thanks again, guys. And as always, keep praying and slaying.